Hi everyone, my name is Apuraj Garikapati. Welcome to my YouTube channel Amazing Abhai. This guy is named Kang Jeoma. He looks like a basic normal dude, but the truth is he actually got reincarnated into this world that's literally his favorite game. And he's about to take the entrance exam for the Nobles Academy. Everyone here is loaded, and he is just broke. Right on the first day when he went to register his sword, the professor completely lost it. The guy had to be one of the seniors pulling a major prank, but the kid didn't back down. These are his swords. He is poor and his family can't afford the tuition. The professor then spotted the green badge on the uniform. It was a student who got in through a special admission test. And the prof got all tarried over the kid's hustle. The other rich students were definitely not feeling it. When they heard someone was poor and got in with a special admission, they started griping that the place was smelling. Despite the super hostile vibe, Jeoma wasn't fazed. In his past life, he never managed to live a chill life. So this time he's going to make it happen. He is young and good looking. And even though he awakened a rare ability, it has a weird catch. He can only use swords under 30 centimeters. Talk about being handicapped. When he tested his awakened ability, the power was so intense he felt lightning shoot out of the sword and echo through his whole body. The pain of activating it is too much. If it's like this every time, he's never want using it again. But maybe it's just the first time, like with girls. But testing his ability again, the pain was exactly the same. Near where he was, people were gathering for the ceremony that would set the students' ranks. All the young talents were there, and sitting right at the top was one of the 7 legendary heroes, Siegfried von Nibelung. He is a disciple of Yu Kim, the Academy's founder hero. All the students know and look up to this guy, but the bored old man wasn't pleased. Not even the arrival of another of the 7 heroes cheered him up. This girl, whose curves were more legendary than her title as the Sage of the 7 Heroes, greeted the old man. The girl's name is Medea, and Siegfried mocks the girl for being 70 years old and dressing like a youngster. Medea didn't take it as an offense. Actually, she took it as a compliment. She also said that if Siegfried accepted her blessing, he would look 10 years younger. The old man refuses. The elderly have to accept their nature. Medea has a young essence, and that's why she looks that way. Despite the old man's insults, the girl accepted. They'd invite to watch the Academy's first day. She used to hate these people, but accepted it anyway. That reason is she is curious to see Siegfried's granddaughter. All the gathered students looked like a sea of colors with their dyed hair. Jeoma was the only one with black hair. And the jokes about him not being a noble didn't stop. People forgot all about him when a girl showed up. Her blue hair and attractive aura made the guys turn totally red. Siegfried's granddaughter, the Sword Emperor. The girl is named Abel von Nibelung, and she's the main heroine of this game. The exam was about to kick off. One of the ancient heroes created a place in the academy called the subspace. In this place, everyone can be injured and eliminated. But when they return to reality, nothing happens to their bodies. That's why any method of combat is allowed, even the lethal ones. Siegfried and Medea say it's an academy tradition. The students who survived the longest get the best rank. The 2 old people were interested in the special student, but the other students were now focused on the student with very special attributes. Jeoma could have been one of the guys to join the herd chasing after Abel, but he knows the real deal about this girl and her miraculous blessing. While everyone follows their pheromones, he heads the opposite way. He's even reading a book on how to have a peaceful life in this world. He also remembers that to fight here, he will have to use that darned ability. When it was announced that everyone would be sent to the subspace, all of them were hyped, except Jeoma. But when it happened, he was determined. After 7 minutes, several students were sent back, leaving everyone shaken by how painful the eliminations were. Medea watched closely and noted that Abel took first place. Most people felt this was expected given her famous family. She was very excited to see the performance of Siegfried's granddaughter, but Siegfried himself did not see it the same way. He pointed out that she hadn't broken the academy record, which he had held for a long time. Just as the old man was about to leave, a heavy, overwhelming feeling hit him like a sharp pain in the stomach. Everyone in the arena felt it. The students looked up at the sky with fear. When media asked Siegfried if he knew what was happening, even the great hero had no idea. Suddenly, the sky itself began to break. It was an unbelievable sight. 2 people then fell from the sky and crashed into the ground. The arena became deathly silent as media ordered medical teams to rush to the fallen students. The story then shifts back to a few minutes earlier. While the students were supposed to be fighting one another, it was actually a pair of brothers beating everyone else up. Because of these two, the match felt decided from the start. It wasn't a fair fight. It was a death match. Geo-man knew exactly who was behind the violence. The evil twins, Mao Jun and Shun Mao. They were 2 brothers with a natural talent for being brutal. For 30 minutes, they had been toying with the weaker students and enjoying the act of hurting them. Geo-mao looked so weak that the twins didn't even notice him at first. Eventually, all their victims were gone, leaving the brothers bored and looking for a new target. They spotted a single girl shivering in the back and pointed at her. It was clear they had terrible intentions. And Geo-mao decided he could no longer stay quiet, as Shun Mao walked toward the terrified girl and made a creepy comment about her being his taste. Geo-mao reached his breaking point. Geo-mao yelled from the back, catching the twins' attention. He had stepped in without thinking. And now the 2 boys who had ignored him before were staring him down. They saw his special admission name tag and laughed, calling him worthless. They decided to kill him quickly so they could go back to the girl. Facing them both head-on, Geo-mao wondered what to do. His painless blessing only lasted for 30 seconds, which wasn't nearly enough time to beat them. He realized he had only one choice left, and the answer was in his bag of sashimi knives. However, he knew that as soon as he held a blade, his blessing would activate, and that unimaginable pain would return. He had wanted a safe, quiet life, but not even half a day had passed before he was in danger. When he reached into his bag and pulled out a knife, causing both brothers burst out laughing, Shun Mao decides not to waste any more time and launches forward to take Geo-mao out. This isn't a situation where Geo-mao can be picky, but he has a desperate plan. Use his painless blessing for 30 seconds to cancel out the pain from the sword god blessing. All he has to do is hold on. He activates his painless blessing right before drawing the sashimi knife, and once again, the blessing of the sword god flares to life just as Shun Mao descends on him with a wicked smile. There's only one way for Geo-mao to survive this. If he can't cut through this situation, he will die. But can a sashimi knife really cut through a? Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Apai grow naturally. Person? He remembers asking his old master, an ex-gangster, why gangsters and movies always use them. His master told him it was just movie nonsense. He said, you can't slash a person like a piece of fish, not even if a god comes down. But the blessing is clear. If he wills it, then he can cut it. Trusting the blessing over his master, Geo-mao thrusts his knife towards the large man jumping at him. And in an instant, Shun Mao is sliced clean in half. The other students and the remaining brother, Mao Jun, stare in absolute shock. The quiet, gloomy kid just did the impossible with a simple kitchen knife. Shun Mao's body falls to the ground in 2 pieces. His brother screams. He desperately forces his brain to remember that this is subspace, that Shun Mao isn't really dead. But that doesn't change what he just saw. Mao Jun tells himself that his brother must have been careless. Now, as the remaining twin, he has to pick up the slack. He looks at his brother's fallen body and takes the power gauntlet for himself. With the gauntlet equipped on both hands, its true power awakens. Mao Jun's defense is boosted. His jumping power increases by 200% and his fists hit like a truck. He's confident that not even an S-rank weapon can pierce his defense now. But Geo-mao isn't even paying attention to him. He's just focused on the countdown, tracking the seconds he has left before his blessing ends. Mao Jun sees an opening and rushes in for a sucker punch while Geo-mao is distracted. And then in a single instant, it's all over. Mao Jun is on the ground covered in his own blood and barely alive while Geo-mao finishes his countdown. The moment it hits 0, the painless blessing ends and the full agony of the sword god blessing slams into him at once. He screams, still clutching the knife, and finally collapses. Sometime later, Geo-mao wakes up in a white room, probably some kind of clinic, before he can even get up. 2 people walk in. He's never met them, but he knows exactly who they are. Two of it. Legendary 7-star heroes, the strongest of humanity, Siegfried, and the Academy's director, Medea Poison. He can't help but wonder why two of the most powerful people in the world are here to see him. Medea asks for his name, but Siegfried gets straight to the point, his hand resting anxiously on his sword. He demands to know what on earth Geomad did. He explains that during the fight, they both felt a powerful sensation that was clearly caused by him. The hostility is so thick, you could cut it with a knife. Realizing he's being targeted by the strongest man alive, Geomad makes a smart move. He first apologizes, saying that his actions went too far, and tells them he's ready to accept any punishment. As the two stare each other down, Medea is forced to step in before a fight breaks out. She tells Siegfried to stop scaring the kid and then reveals something shocking. While Geomad was unconscious, Siegfried actually cleaned his clogged meridians. Geomad can't believe the swordmaster would do that for him, but now that he checks, his body definitely feels a lot lighter. Medea then explains that they reviewed the video and concluded he was just defending a female student in trouble. She can't help but drool a little, calling Geomad the handsome prince she's been dreaming of, forcing Siegfried to pull her back. The main point, she says, is that she won't give him any grief over his actions. Better yet, the twins had a terrible reputation anyway. After what Geomad did, they've both decided to withdraw from the school. That's a huge relief for him, but that isn't all. The real reason they came to see him was to congratulate him for being the top scorer in the whole school. Just like that, Geomad's dream of a peaceful and safe life has officially become impossible. Later, back in Medea's office, the two heroes regroup. She's complaining about something she's never seen in her 2 decades. As head of the academy, a student earned the top spot among all the new candidates and then rejected the offer to join the highest class in the school, the star class. They tried to ask him to reconsider, but Geomad still doesn't want it. Medea asks Siegfried if he's upset that Gamma took the top rank instead of his granddaughter. After all, he saw the video and his potential, but Siegfried doesn't agree. He sees this as nothing more than an immature child challenging the system. He says the subspace has the will of the founding hero. If the subspace recognizes Geomad, then the academy itself has chosen him as the top pupil, and that won't change. Siegfried also has his own personal thoughts. He sees Geomad as someone completely strange. If his skills were outstanding, or if his physical abilities were great, or even if he had a little bit of experience, it would make sense, but Siegfried could tell that he had none of that. And yet, as he saw in the video replay, there was a great essence of skill in how Geomad moved. It represented the ultimate form of swordsmanship, something he has been pursuing his whole life. When he was unblocking Geomad's acupoints, he sensed how feeble his body was, that he had not yet received any physical training. But it also appeared that something was stored inside him that even the strongest human cannot comprehend. Because of that, he's feeling incredibly competitive towards someone the same age as his granddaughter. Medea, on the other hand, is more focused on the fact that he's quite attractive. She's still smitten that he revealed his skills to save a woman in danger. She jokes that if she were just 10 years younger, she would go after him for sure. Lost in thought, Siegfried stays quiet until she asks him what's on his mind. He doesn't answer and eventually asks her what she thinks students call people like her. Interested, the school administrator tells him to go on. His answer is definitely not what she wants to hear, and she ends up exploding in anger. Meanwhile, Geomad goes to attend his first class. He had rejected going to the star class, so the best they could downgrade him to was wolf class. Any lower, and the elders would have thrown a tantrum. He originally wanted to be in tiger class, but Medea practically begged him to go to wolf class. In exchange, she promised to keep it a secret that he is the top student in the school. He'd originally wanted to complete his studies securely in a lower class, rather than battling it out in a higher one. Wolf class is a bit high level, but it's still within the range of what he would have expected. Geomad pushes through the large doors and enters his new classroom. For a moment, all the students look at him with mild curiosity. Then, they notice he is a special admission student, and just like that, no one could care less about him. Geomad doesn't mind. The fact that they are ignoring him means that Medea kept her part of the deal. Now all he has to do is live the tranquil life he has always dreamed of. He settles down at his desk as a familiar student walks towards him nervously. She shakily thanks him for helping her previously, but Geomad has no idea who this is. she clarifies that she's the girl he saved during the test. Jeoma brushes her off and tells her that she doesn't need to thank him. After all, he says, anyone else in that situation would have done the same thing. It may look like he saved her, but he feels he actually did it to save himself. Accepting her gratitude would make him feel like a hypocrite. Jeoma changes the topic by introducing himself instead. The girl follows suit and reveals that her name is Chloe. It's an interesting coincidence that they ended up in the same class. Now that introductions are done, Jeoma tries to remember if he has ever heard of a character named Chloe in the game. Maybe she was introduced after he stopped playing, but that makes no sense. When he quit, the game's core narrative was already so far along that introducing a new character would be pointless. It looks like he has run into an extra just like him. Jeoma asks her to keep the incident during the exam a secret. He doesn't want word of his power getting around and ruining his safe and easy lifestyle. Chloe agrees, but then starts to make a request of her own, before being cut off by their homeroom teacher, barging into the room with a loud shout. Jeoma tells her to go back to her seat, so they can talk later. The teacher, who introduces himself as Lee Wonbin, congratulates the new faces of Wolf class. Since it's their first day, he wants to begin with some basic physical exercise. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 100 squats, as well as 10 laps around the training area. Basically, it's a Saitama split for the genius nobles who have received vigorous training their whole lives. This is a piece of cake. For Jeoma, though, this is a training regimen that will most certainly make him go bald. He nervously walks up to the teacher after everyone else has left and says he's not feeling strong enough for the training. Surprisingly, not only does the teacher know his name, but he also seems to think incredibly highly of Jeoma. It looks like Media didn't completely keep her impression of him under wraps. Lee Wonbin also knows Jeoma is allowed to take classes from any level he wants. He denies the opportunity to go to the star class, and instead tells the teacher he just wants to go to the toilet for now. And that's how Jeoma is forced to join the tedious exercise with the rest of his classmates. Before we move ahead, please take a second to share on this video. Sharing helps this video reach friends who may also enjoy anime, gaming, travel, cricket, chess, career basics, or personal stories. Your support helps Amazing Abhai grow naturally. They all run past him with ease while he barely lags behind, already feeling like he's about to pass out. Chloe runs up beside him and notices that he doesn't look so great. She surprisingly tells him that she's on her 9th lap, already gives him a little bit of encouragement, and then zooms off to complete her last one. By the end of the day, Jeoma returns to his dorm room and chugs several bottles of water. He's been at the academy for just a week and has already faced unexpected problems. After the intense training, he ran to the cafeteria only to find out the meals weren't free. When he saw the price for one spicy pork rice, he froze in shock. Just remembering the price now causes him to throw his bottle into a wall in a blind rage. He's almost out of living expenses and severely regrets not accepting the money his father tried to give him. For the past few days, he has been surviving on nothing but the cheapest water from the campus shop. He even misses the complimentary dinners from his army days. For now, all he can do is try to think about something else to forget his hunger. The first thing that comes to mind is his blessing. As usual, the status screen appears, giving him the details. It's gotten a lot longer since last time. His physical level has risen, which has also upgraded the blessing of the sword god, allowing it to activate with slightly longer swords. Now he checks himself out in the mirror and sure enough, it looks like he has made good physical progress. It's probably because the Sword Master activated his pressure points. It almost feels like his body has evolved. However, the Sword God's blessing still hasn't spread beyond the length of a sashimi knife. If he keeps improving, maybe one day he'll be able to use a small sword. His hands even start to itch when he's not carrying a blade now. Probably a result of the blessing. There's a knock on the door. He opens it to see Chloe. She hasn't seen him in the cafeteria and came to check if he's alright. He lies that he doesn't normally consume food made by others, but his internal self practically salivates at the thought of food. Chloe looks disappointed, telling him she was hoping they could have dinner together. Before she can even finish her thought, Jeoma is dressed up and calling for her to follow him to buy ingredients. Later that evening, the two have a great meal cooked by Jeoma. Chloe is genuinely impressed. Since Chloe grew up near a beach and loves fish, and Jeoma's expertise is cooking fish, It's a perfect match. The itch in his hands to grab a knife also hadn't left him. So this is a great time to refresh his skills by slicing some sashimi. The problem is the sword god's blessing. He can't hold a simple kitchen knife without it activating. He asks Chloe if she owns a larger knife, saying it would be awkward to use his own weapons to cook. She heads into her room and comes back with a large sword, definitely way too large for a simple fish. With no other choice, he is forced to use his blessing. The painless blessing will last for 30 seconds, so he just has to make sure he's fast enough. He was once called the greatest swordsman in his country, and cutting fish has always been his specialty. Now it's time for him to prove it. He flawlessly slices the fish and manages to finish in 21 seconds, leaving 9 seconds of the painless blessing to spare. The whole thing was done so well that he would call it a masterpiece. Chloe asks how he's so good at cooking, and he confesses that he once worked part-time at a Japanese restaurant. Since she's a noble, she doesn't understand what a part-time job is, and it makes it clear that they are from different social positions. Now that the meal is done, Chloe offers to wash the dishes since he cooked all the food for them, and he moves over to the other side of the room to give her space to clean. For the first time in almost a week, he's full and he can't help but hum in joy. That humming is broken as Chloe accidentally drops a plate behind him. It's most likely because she has never had to clean dishes before, and dropping plates is something that he used to do when he was her age. As he stares out the window and ignores the breaking of plates behind him, a book tumbles off of Chloe's study desk. It looks like it's a diary, and the book coincidentally lands on a page where she writes about him saving her during the class placement test. Her handwriting is cute with rounded shapes and stickers, and he finds himself picking up the book and smiling at it. The wind from the window turns the pages of the book to another part where she writes about meeting him in the same class and being interested in him. He finds it all really cute and can't help himself as he turns through more pages, admiring how cute she is. He turns a few more pages and sees his name again, followed by numerous pages with the words, "I love you," written countless times. Another plate breaks again, and he turns to see Chloe staring at him with blank, scary eyes. She simply asks him if he has read her diary. Chloe's emotionless state isn't a new thing. It's part of her upbringing, and it's more like a self-defense mechanism. Heroes earn respect by defeating demonic beasts, and this allows them to increase their social standing and to gain global reputation. However, within their stagnate ranks, there are certain factions that abuse the weak in the name of authority. When the law is unable to punish these abusers, another group is called from the shadows to take care of these people, and the name of that family is Auditora Cecilia. They are a family that maintains order and carries out assassinations. They are known to work in the shadows while leading towards the light. Those born in the Auditora family have been training for assassinations since before they even reach adolescence. Their emotions are restrained, and they undergo severe training to become perfect assassination machines. Chloe is a part of this blood-stained family, and the first time she soiled her palms with blood was at the age of 15. She has been told all her life to not underestimate her abilities as an assassin, and this has allowed her to become completely conscious of herself. Slowly, her unyielding training distorted her nature, and a gloomy shadow formed over her heart. By the time her identity had been worn down, leaving only traces of emotion, Chloe eventually reached the age to enter the academy. Jokwon Academy is a place where students are placed in different classrooms based on their aptitude. Each student's talent is at least the level of a dragon or higher, but members of the Auditora family who thrived in the shadows were assigned to the common class by their family's decree. That was the agreement between the family and the academy. She was told to remain undetected, and throughout the years of childhood, the family eliminated every individual's liberty. Chloe accepted her fate as an assassin and didn't protest, and she already believed that nothing would alter her fate, that is, until the day she met someone she would never forget. As she stood still and defenseless, while the two evil brothers walked towards her, someone who looked like the weakest person in the room stood up to defend her. Even though death in the subspace battle royale is fake, and there is no real risk of dying, this boy still tried to save her. Chloe had quietly accepted death and was waiting for her predestined fate. She had long since given up on meaningless struggles, and she was trained to act in a meek and unnoticeable manner. But somehow, thanks to the boy's intervention, it's like the sun had broken through the clouds in her mind, and she watched as the boy used his sword not to assassinate, but in self-defense, and to protect her. Right as she saw him fighting for her, she remembered a children's fairy tale she read aloud under her pillow in secret. The tale told of a princess imprisoned in a castle that was rescued by a prince. As the memories of the fairy tale came to her mind, her chest tingles and her cheeks became red. This unidentifiable feeling in her was most certainly love. Now, Gyo-ma has committed the ultimate sin by looking into the private thoughts of this girl. As she stares him down, he tries to, but he knows deep down that he is screwed. He tries to figure out exactly how he got into this situation. Was it when he took the pure sentiments of a teenage girl? Or maybe the moment he foolishly followed her because she offered to feed him? No matter how he found himself staring at death itself in the form of a teenage girl, his first priority should be getting out of here. He changes the topic, commenting on how lovely the moon is before casually trying to find a way to leave the room without getting his head chopped off. She doesn't let him finish his sentence and asks him again if he saw her diary. He tries to play it off, pretending that he only saw her reference book and compliments the amount of effort she put into studying. But none of that flattery will save his life right now. He can't even believe that she saw him reading it in the first place since she was busy washing dishes while he was peeking through it, and she has even abandoned the formal speech she was using to talk to him before. It's almost like she has become an entirely different person out of nowhere. He promises that he didn't see it, but she pesters him until finally he admits that he saw it. As soon as he says that, Chloe decides that his life must end, and she pulls out the same sword that she offered him before. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Pie grow naturally. To cut the fish, Gyo-ma looks around and weighs his options. They are currently on the 4th floor, so jumping out of the window isn't an option. The only way out for him is through the front door, but Chloe definitely won't let him just walk out of here, at least not with his limbs attached. She really is coming towards him with the sword, and it looks like his time is running out. He tries to figure out why she's suddenly acting this way, and he can only think of one possibility. Her unmoving pupils and her dark red eyes can only mean one thing. He's dealing with a textbook yandere. But if he takes into account her sudden shift in attitude from an adorable little strawberry to a fierce killer, it gets even worse. She's a yandere with a dual personality. Managing her yandere characteristics alone will definitely be difficult, but adding a dual personality disorder to it makes things even worse. It looks like her change in personality was triggered by him opening her diary. This might be harmful, but he's sure that she'll pursue him until the day he passes away if he doesn't do something to snap her out of it. He has to find a way to secure his future by taking the initiative today, else things are only going to get worse for him. The only way he's making it out of here alive is if he gets a weapon, but he only has 9 seconds remaining after using 21 seconds to slice the fish. His sashimi knife is still in his room, but he can use the kitchen knife from earlier. There's no way he's going to be able to reach that without his arms getting severed though. He looks around again and notices a box cutter on her study desk. There's nothing else he can use, but there's no way this little thing is enough to activate the blessing of the sword god. Chloe finally rushes him with a sword, and it looks like there's only one way to find out. He grabs the box cutter and then unloads the blade. Numerous status screens pop up in front of him. Being resourceful in a situation like this increases his mental resilience, and he temporarily gains an intimidation buff. The system then makes necessary adjustments before activating the blessing. Chloe rushes at him with her sword, right as Gyo-ma pulls back with the box cutter. Before she can cut him down, he tells her that her hair is a little long. Thanks to the intimidation buff, Chloe freezes for a moment. Right as Gamma unleashes the blade, everything goes dark and fuzzy, and by the time Chloe wakes up later in the evening, her room is dark, tidy, and empty. Her thoughts immediately go to Gyo-ma, and she wonders where he went off to. She calls out to him a few times, but the silence confirms that she is alone in her room. The last thing she remembers is sneaking. Looks at him while he was looking out of her window, but everything is fuzzy after that. She suddenly feels the need to look for her katana, but she sees it leaning against her study desk. She sometimes loses consciousness whenever she holds her katana, but it looks like she managed to hold herself together this time. At least that's what she thinks anyway. Back when she was younger and still honing her skills, she would lose consciousness when holding her blade, and by the time she would come to her place would be covered in blood, and her elders would dismiss her whenever she would ask what she did while passed out. They would always remind her not to deny her talent as an assassin. Still, the fact that she can't remember what she did with Gyoma makes her feel embarrassed, and she buries her head in her bed in shame, but that shame quickly turns to something else entirely. As she starts thinking about Gyoma, then she notices the box cutter laying on the floor, and also that her hair looks shorter. Inside her trash bin, she also sees some of her hair neatly cleaned up. That's when she realizes that he must have helped her cut her hair, and she opens up her journal to write about her love for him a little more. Gyoma, on the other hand, isn't nearly as lovesick as Chloe is at the moment. In fact, right now, he can barely believe that he's even alive. Behind an inconspicuous wall at the far side of the college, he throws up the food that he was just praising Chloe for feeding him. He barely managed to go past the first 5 seconds after the 9 seconds of his painless blessing ended. And even then, he still feels incredibly sick. And after throwing up his only good meal in over a week, Gyoma sits on a bench and contemplates what to do next. Now he's hungry again and feeling even worse than he did before Chloe came to visit. His mind drifts to Chloe again, and he starts to wonder who exactly she is. Her swordsmanship is clearly honed to cut off an opponent's life with a single strike, or at least subdue them. The way Chloe wields her sword, it's like she is persistently aiming for the vital spots, almost as if her technique is specialized in assassination. If she had caught him off guard, Gyoma certainly wouldn't have survived. He felt like his life was being threatened, so he instinctively aimed for her neck. Fortunately, the knife was too short, so he only managed to cut her hair. Before he left, he cleaned up the mess, so there shouldn't be any problems later. But this is just further proof that keeping his peaceful and safe life isn't as simple as it looks. Apparently, being ordinary is the hardest thing for him. When he was first thrown into this game, it's not like he didn't have any ambition. In his past life, he once reached the pinnacle of skill with nothing but a sashimi knife. So it's not like he could easily let go of his dreams. But everyone has a role to play, and in this world, he was summoned as a background character. Miracle Blessing is the title of the game, as well as the name of the protagonist's blessing. It was also the blessing of the founding hero, Valor Jakin. In the whole game, the protagonist and the founding hero were the only two people to ever possess the legendary blessing, and the description of the blessing was straightforward. They are to save the world from the Demon King, so the protagonist gets chosen by Balmong, which is an SS sword that is both holy and cursed. Meanwhile, all Gyoma has is a lowly, rankless sashimi knife. There's nothing else to say. He's just bound for a life of obscurity. The endless stream of extraordinary people and situations that he has faced since entering the academy almost made him forget about his goal. There were plenty of reasons to give up on the goal of a simple life, and it's even more apparent now that it seems like there isn't even one normal person in the entire world. Since he has played the game before, he has a rough grasp of the key characters in the game, but his knowledge of the world itself is limited. It's already been a week since he joined the academy at this point, which means that the protagonist should have already awakened his blessing and begun the late admission process. This is when the game's story actually begins, and Gyoma knows the general plot, but he never played it to the end. For the first time, he actually regrets quitting the game halfway through, but still, since he knows the canon route up to the first half of the story that already gives him a big advantage, all he has to do is stick to the canon route no matter what. If he starts meddling in everything, then he'll end up losing the only advantage that he has. From his memory, he knows that the storyline takes a sudden dark turn around the second semester of the third year, which is when the demons realize that the hero has awakened, and they launch an attack on the academy led by a Legion commander. As the fight escalates, the demons and the humans spiral into an all-out war, and from there, the game's story turns into a typical fantasy novel. Back when he was playing it, he just wanted to emulate the carefree, simple, youthful life that he never experienced as a teenager. So he deleted the game without a second thought. The problem is that now he's part of the world that is destined for war, and there's a very real possibility that he might die. He still has 3 years before then, though, and he needs to stop running from reality so he can focus on what's possible. He won't let himself die, and he will focus on growing stronger so he can survive. Besides, cliché games like this one always have happy endings where the protagonist manages to save the world. All he needs is enough strength to protect himself, so he can't let himself be some helpless weakling that gets killed off. He just needs to train enough to protect himself while keeping his lower profile as possible. To do that, he will have to minimize his use of the blessing of the sword god, because just the few times he has had to rely on it has put immense strain on his body. It's a powerful ability, but it comes with way too many drawbacks for his liking. Thinking about the blessing once again activates a status window that gives him information about it. Weirdly enough, though, there are new entries to the information that he didn't notice before. The 3 new entries are a body, mind, and armament grade, and the numbers beside them seem to be levels. They all reflect how much he has grown, and each one will lessen the strain of his blessing on his body. There's also one more called synchronization, but he has no idea what it means, and its description is just some question marks. He tries tapping on it, but access to it is denied because he has not met the relevant conditions. That's another puzzle to add to this mysterious blessing, but it's not important right now. His main priority at the moment should be improving his body and finding a new weapon. He can't depend on the 30 seconds of the painless blessing forever, so he also needs to learn to wield a sword that doesn't meet the condition of the blessing. Luckily, there's a monster hunting training for the midterms that's happening in a month. The reward for the training is the long sword more same. It's a beakier weapon that should serve him until graduation. It's also too big for his blessing to activate, meaning that it's the perfect weapon for him. There's a lot to figure out, but it already feels like he's making good progress. While lost in thought, a voice calls out to him suddenly. He looks up, and staring back down at him is someone he never expected to see or talk to. It's Abel von Nebelong, the granddaughter of the Sword Emperor, and the one person that he really shouldn't be interacting with if he wants to avoid changing the game's story. She tells him that he's on her seat, but he's too stunned to get up for a moment, forcing her to yell at him before he finally gets the message and slides away to give her space. He still can't get over just how pretty Abel is, and he caught himself staring without even noticing. As he tries to leave, she tells him that he doesn't have to go. He can just shuffle over a bit instead. It's weird that she'd call a public bench her seat, but he lets it go since he doesn't really want to get involved with her. He still can't help staring at her, and just as he would expect from the heroine of the game, she really is gorgeous. Suddenly she starts talking, and that startles Geoma back to the present. This is definitely way too odd, since the Abel that he knows is usually standoffish and doesn't talk to people. Even that, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Amazing Apai. Subscribing makes sure you do not miss the next video, and it gives me motivation to keep improving the quality of every upload. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.